welcome to the full moon in Scorpio. Today we're going to be clearing our emotional closets. So I thought I'd take a little trip through my own closet. I should have been wearing this for Leo, but I'm wearing it for Scorpio. That's good. It's a giant antique watch that my mom got me. Or maybe one of her patients gave it to her, and now I have it. But isn't that cool? It's like an old pocket watch. Very cool. You can actually see the time. It's like upside down. Okay, I digress because it's a Scorpio full moon. So this is our Scorpio full moon manifestation harvesting ceremony. And this is the time in the lunar cycle where we pause to reflect on our micro and macro intentions that have manifested for us in the last 2 weeks and 6 months. 2 weeks being the time since the last full moon, and 6 months being the time since the last Scorpio new moon. So micro intentions tend to be things that can come into our field of reality or pop into existence within about like 2 weeks, and that's something we might like put on our calendar that would like come right in for us. Whereas a macro intention is something a little bit bigger, a life shift or like a slight variation off the course that we're currently in to 6 months later down the road end up exactly where we want to be. So you're going to want to make sure that you have your Foursquare. If this is your first time tuning in, these are available down below. You can print out the PDF that we have in the resource section for Lunar Manifestations Tribe members, or you can just get a good old-fashioned piece of paper. As I mentioned a million times, I'm a former high school social studies teacher, and so I'm plain Jane. You can get out a blank piece of paper, fold it into half and in half, and then you have your Foursquare. This is a tradition adapted from the early 20th century metaphysician Florence Scovel Shinn, who wrote the book The Game of Life and How to Play It, which I kind of feel like I'm playing a game today in this. Like this, I used to wear this hat when I would do in-person sessions in like the winter months, and so I would always wear this hat, and I kind of feel like I don't know, it's like a throwback. Anyways, my favorite. My husband got it for me for our 10th wedding anniversary. It's been around a minute. But anyways, back to playing the game of life. So you're going to want to plant your micro and macro intentions during the new moon. So hopefully you planted these during the Scorpio new moon. If you weren't, doing the lunar manifestation intention planting practice back at the Scorpio new moon 6 months ago, you can check your DMs, you can check your direct messages, your emails, your text messages, phone calls, phone logs. You can check your browser history. You can check your social media posts. That's a really great place to go back to see like where you were 6 months ago in terms of what you were trying to bring into your life, what you wanted to manifest, what was happening in your orbit, any shifts you were trying to make, decisions you were trying to make, or things you were trying to like move into or away from. So go do some research. Oh, check your calendar to see your work calendar, your personal calendar, to see kind of like what was up in your life 6 months ago. And then you can reflect on it on the other side. Now, again, if you did your planting ceremony from 6 months ago, you should have it here on the front. And then on the other side, what you'll do is do the full moon ceremony. And if this is your first time doing the full moon ceremony, keep the other side blank so that when the Scorpio new moon comes around, you can plant your intentions there. So it's just a really cool way to like keep track of things, and then you can put it in like a binder down the road, or you can click into the resources on the Lunar Manifestations website in the members area, and like you'll have access to all that stuff. Okay, so make sure that you're noting your manifestations, anything that's popped into your reality, any shifts that have happened, and take a minute to do one of two things: give thanks, or reflect on the ways that you can shift in or out of the desire. Meaning, has what you wanted 6 months ago, has it come to fruition or not? And why? Is it something that you still really want? If so, recommit to that, because under the full moon, the path forward is illuminated, and you can give in to your desires in a Sorry, I have somebody in here recording with me. My little daughter is in here. She's never made an appearance on any of these videos, and we're not going to do it now. I need you to sit down, okay, Buttercup? So Mommy can keep going. Okay. Sorry, I'm getting a little distracted, but this is life as a mom, running a business. Actually, you know what? That's a perfect example. So 6 months ago at my new moon, I planted the intention to maintain plenty of white space in my daily, weekly, and monthly calendars so that I could manifest high vibration co-creation opportunities with people, places, and experiences that bring me joy and joy multiplying frequencies while being a present wife and mother. Case and point. So I'm getting to do that now and also being a present wife and mother. Okay, so give thanks for anything that has come into your reality right now, or reflect on anything that is still coming in for you, and check in with yourself if it's actually something you truly desire. The Scorpio full moon is a great time to really acknowledge our desires, because it actually is, it's like a very sultry energy, and it lets us get to the core of what we might want but might not talk about. Okay, without further ado, here is the ceremony. Scorpio full moon, clearing our emotional closets. As with the evolution of the soul, the fruit embodies the full actualization of the essence of the seed. What's your story, Morning Glory? Mine used to be a fear-based one, where I believed that if I were to reveal my authentic self, which included my ability to communicate with our loved ones on the other side, I would be ridiculed, shamed, and shut down. While this did happen in my early years, like it does with many sensitive and empathic children, and young adults, the consequences that I endured from being labeled crazy are now a part of my larger life story that I deeply value and cherish. Well, there were many times in my life where I was told to be quiet, stay small, and not expose my real, authentic self or personal beliefs by individuals or society at large. It was never my soul's path to stay in that place of fear. My journey is one of consciously choosing at each step to move past a story of victimhood, where things happen to me, to a story of empowerment, where I'm in control of how I choose to react to what happens in my life. So that's a short version of my story, Morning Glory. And to aid anyone with a slight or severe case of metaphysical or physical spring fever, here's a full moon ritual to help clear away any pent-up fear that may be in your metaphysical closets while outlining the next chapter in your beautiful story. So with Love, Light, and a Story of Glory, this is the Scorpio full moon ritual. We are going to, it's a two-parter. One, we're going to erase the past with a emotional hoarding purge. That's a weird way to say it, but a couple of years ago I discovered a lot of folks who tend to hoard in the physical, like hoard physical items and have a lot of clutter, also tend to exhibit signs of emotional hoarding, where they hold on to these stories of who they are in the world, and you know what it means to have certain beliefs or a certain career or a certain just like way of being. Like it's the idea of being in a closet is a very apt metaphor for people in like a spiritual closet, for people coming out of the closet in, you know, the LGBTQ communities. Apologies if I got that wrong. So much love and light. I'm not great with acronyms, but I love and honor you because the journeys are similar. Anytime somebody is in hiding, they're in a place of not honoring their authentic soul self, and it can feel like a lived purgatory. So emotional hoarding, physical hoarding, emotional clutter, physical clutter, they tend to go hand in hand. I talk about it a lot in these rituals. And this month's ritual is going to help us like purge any of that emotional hoarding and also physical hoarding, and that could eventually lead to dis-ease. It leads to dis-ease in our soul, meaning we just like feel angsty. We don't feel like we're able to show up in the world as our authentic selves. We're maybe wearing a shield when we go out in public. Maybe we've got like a lot of armor on. I do kind of feel like I might have a little too much armor on today. And we're showing up in this way in the world that's like maybe not authentic to who we actually came to this earth to be. And that type of chronic like disallowance or disassociation with our soul's expression can lead to actual physical disease. As I've mentioned, a lot of times my mom's an internist and like a practicing medical internist, and I spent a lot of time in my childhood in a pioneer's home. That's what we call them in Alaska, and in the hospital, visiting with her patients, sitting in her waiting rooms, talking with patients and learning their stories. And it was really interesting how often their physical symptoms were connected to a like a psychosomatic or a mental or an emotional issue, and how often trauma would literally get stored in the body and manifest in like various forms. It's not uncommon for women who have been victims of, or anyone who's been a victim of sexual trauma, to develop cancers or illnesses like linked to those areas. In holistic health coaching, they call it the zone of proximity. So it's like, where in your body is this disease manifesting? And like, we're saying dis-ease, as in like DIS dash ease. So it's like this feeling of uneasiness, and disease, like DISEASE, all together, like a physical ailment. And I believe it's way beyond coincidence that a lot of times like cancers will manifest in places where energy is stored or trauma is stored. And in your own life, you can look at this isn't part of the ritual, it's just something interesting to look at. If you look at the chakras, the 7 chakra systems of the body, they're each connected to a specific energy. And oftentimes the energy that we're trying to like move through in this physical form can get like stuck in that chakra. So for example, like if you have a thyroid issue, I had a thyroid issue for a long time. I had a really hard time speaking my truth and being authentic about who I was and showing up in this world as like both a professional career person and like spouse to somebody with like a prominent career, and a medium, and somebody who was like really woo-woo and really into like these spiritual and metaphysical principles and manifesting and the moon and all that. Like, it was hard for me to bridge those 3 identities, really. And so I went through a lot of self-shaming and self-quieting after being told, like, basically by my environment, the people I was surrounded with, like, hey, maybe this isn't something that is like something you want to talk about. And eventually, with love, I and they moved through it. So it's kind of like a coming out of the closet, the spiritual closet. And no, that is not to diminish the actual experience of sharing one's sexuality with the world, because that is a hard journey. It's like one of those things that it's like you walk around with it every day. Being in the spiritual closet, you can both be very public and very private in a matter of a breath. And so that's not to diminish that at all. It's just a similar analogy. It's a similar experience of sharing oneself. And the more we can all share ourselves authentically, the higher we will raise the collective vibration on this planet. And the more like future generations, these little ones, will just show up and they'll just be. And they don't have to be with, like, they don't have to come into who they are against a story or against a way of being that's like maybe inauthentic to their soul's expression. So you're going to erase the past with an emotional hoarding, decluttering ritual. And then you're going, and it's a little bit intense. It's like Scorpio's intense. Scorpio's sultry. Scorpio's like kind of like gets at it. And then you're going to rewrite your story. So you're going to use the energy of the Scorpio full moon to write, to see what parts of your personal narrative or life story you're willing to release, and what like new experiences you are willing to bring in. So it's kind of a quick one, but it's really a good one. Also, you may want to burn Palo Santo wood or sage to clear the energy of the space before or after the ritual. You can open a door, window, or have a fan to clear smoke. I always keep my Palo Santo. I already did it. It's over there. Hey, go get that little wood smudge stick over there, quick. The Palo Santo, go. It's in the rose dish. I'll show you. You can wear sultry black, which is the color Scorpio, while conducting the ritual. And also be sure to listen to my episode of Golden Otter Divinations, where I interview my brother, who is a doctor of chiropractic medicine, about the importance of body work and how, as we're processing these maybe emotional traumas, we can actually process physical traumas also out of the body through like physical manipulation. So there's like Reiki, which is kind of like a form of hands-on healing. There's chiropractic care. Thank you. Palo Santo. And massage therapy. Like there's all kinds of ways to start releasing and shedding these layers of our story. If anytime during this ritual you need a little one-on-one, please remember that as a Lunar Manifestations member, you do have a private one-on-one session with me. Please take full advantage of that and reach out to my team or myself if you need extra support at this time, because shedding these stories, it's an exercise. And maybe treat yourself to massage or chiropractic care if that's available to you at this time, or sauna bodywork sessions. This could be something that maybe you like put on your calendar in the coming months. And you could trim your hair to release stagnant energy. And last but not least, here's your little mediumship tip of it. Reach out to your loved ones in spirit that you were close to in life, who always encouraged you to be your authentic self or gave you great advice, by asking for signs and symbols that would clearly demonstrate their continued presence in your life. Conversely, have that conversation, that long overdue conversation with anyone on the other side who you may have felt didn't fully accept you. Chances are that from their celestial perspective, they'll be happy to communicate and send you signs and symbols to show you that they respect you and your life choices. From the other side, even if they didn't necessarily do so well in the physical, you would be shocked at the number of times I have told people who have come out of the closet, not the spiritual closet, the other closet, how much someone in their life is proud of them. Even if it's like they're like, that's the last person. I'm like, okay, well, I'm just delivering the message. I'm just the mailman. This is the mail. So you take it. But it is not uncommon for our loved ones on the other side to get to the other side after a period of reprieve and actively want to encourage you to come out of the spiritual or sexual, any closet that you're in, any type of hiding that you're doing, because from their perspective and from their vantage point, it's not the point of life. Point of being here in this physical plane is not to suffer. It's not to suffer under the weight of our own stories or under the weight of the expectations of others. Our purpose is to live the authentic expression of our soul. And if you were put on this earth, if you came to this earth with like the essence of your soul, like kind of like I always talk about a seed being buried in the earth and it sprouts into a flower. Within that flower came from that seed that when it was planted, it had everything inside of it to blossom. So I like to think of the soul in the same way. You came as a seed, you've been planted, and now you can bloom and not apologize and just move forward with love and light. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox. Don't know why I'm up here. Lastly, clear your social media space by pruning, on the plant metaphor, by pruning your friend or follower list so that the ones who remain are value adds to your life and don't take up any of your energy. And also, FYI, PSA, this is a public service announcement. Energy vampires are real. They don't have fangs, but they have energetic barbs that if they can get them into you, they will feed off you, more or less. They'll feed off of your energy and your vibration because they are unable to generate that in their own manner. I recently heard somebody talking about the idea of warm-blooded and cold-blooded animals. And warm-blooded animals are able to generate their own life-sustaining heat. They're able to, sustain themselves. And a cold-blooded animal needs an external source of heat. Energy vampires are very, very similar. They need an external light source to keep them going. It's probably why the idea of a snake is so ubiquitous. Okay, so with that, that is the Scorpio full moon ritual. Remember, do your note your manifestations and check in with me on Instagram or wherever you're seeing this, and see you soon. With love and light, Autumn.